the Red Sea or something?
They were on boats. They were just floating.
Oh, you're right.
Jet skis.
Yeah, jet skis.
That'd be pretty awesome.
Dude, ancient jet skis. Hey, bro, aliens built the pyramids, so you never know.
Hey.
Yeah. Yeah. You know those aliens.
We're all aliens of this world.
Oh, boom, dude.
Amen.
Dang.
Amen.
That's crazy.
Look at that.
Look at that. Full circle. Actually, it's more like a semicircle, and it went off into like a triangle. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our first edition of the CTN podcast, Cast Those Nets. I am the host for today, Dakota Lewis. I'm joined here by Billy Harrison. Billy, if you want to say a few words.
Hey, everybody. I'm happy to be here. It's something that we've been trying to start up for about a week or maybe 2 weeks now. And we're really excited to just get this thing started and to just hopefully answer some of your questions and to just show some gospel.
I'm also joined here by William Watson, aka Will.
What's up, guys? Yeah, we're really just hoping to be able to breathe some life into the community of young adults. We know it can be hard to follow Jesus in this environment that we're in at our age. So, like Billy said, if y'all have any questions, just let us know, and we won't shy away from answering any of them.
So basically, just start it right off. Probably just go in and give some background information on ourselves and really just introduce you to who we are, what we do, and just like what we're usually up to. So I'm the host for today, as I said, Dakota Lewis, and I'm 20 years old. I live here where we have the podcast based out of in Tallahassee, Florida. I go to the local college here called Florida State, and I'm here majoring in information technology. Some background on my real self is that my whole life I've really been struggling with being able to follow the Lord and fully commit to Him, and I was lost for a long time in my life until actually one of our co-hosts, Billy Harrison, reached out to me back in high school and really got me into church, and that's really just changed my entire perspective on the world. As whenever I was a kid, I was baptized and said I was saved, but going to a sermon at our youth group that we had in high school one year, it really made me sit down and realize, like, I don't remember being saved, and I really just live like I'm not, and I even still do today. But it was that day back in 2017 that I decided to fully give my life over to God and Jesus, and accept Jesus as my personal Savior. And so that's really who I am now, and Jesus is who I always strive to be like, but it's like 99% of the time it feels like I'm always falling down flat on my face, and I'm really just so imperfect, and I'm glad that God is able to show me that so I can continually work to be better. I'm going to pass it over to somebody else to explain a little bit about themselves now. So, Billy?
Yeah, like Dakota said, my name's Billy. I was born and raised in Tallahassee. Through high school, I tried to carry an image of Christianity. Like, I tried to act like I had it all together, and I didn't really show anybody my bad side. But the harsh reality is a lot of people knew my bad side. That I was, I was carrying a fake life. But, after high school, I went to the Baptist College of Florida, where I still go to today. So I've been hopping around from Tallahassee to Graceville, Florida. And I'm really starting to understand missions. And the biggest thing I'm really starting to learn about is grace. And that I really don't deserve where I am right now, to have the friends I have and to have the family I have, of how supportive they've been in my life. And just thinking about that grace, just visualizing the benefits or the blessings that I have, it's really overwhelmingly amazing. But anyway, through the later podcasts, I'll identify more about myself, But for now, I'm going to pass it to our other host named Will.
Yeah, so I kind of share a lot with Dakota when it comes to being introduced back into church and being saved at a young age. I agree with him. I didn't really know what I was talking about whenever I first gave my life to Jesus. I just saw that a couple of my friends were doing it, and I knew that it was what was expected of me. But another thing I share with Dakota is, when I was in either 9th or 10th grade, Billy Harrison, our fellow co-host over here, he invited me to go to church with him. I believe it was a discipleship now. Was the first thing that I really did with our church that we all attend. But ever since going to that D now, it's just been a constant struggle to follow Jesus. We go through our highs and lows, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can identify with that. But right now, I'm just trying to do what I feel the Lord is calling me to do. I work a full-time job. I'm pretty busy through most of the day. But I look forward to this podcast and becoming a leader in our college ministry and doing everything I can in the time that the Lord has given me to be able to just breathe life into you guys and and hopefully into each other here on this podcast.
So that was just a little introduction about ourselves, trying to just get you guys warmed up to who we are, really just like who we are on the inside. Obviously, as these podcasts are going to go along, as Billy said, we're going to try and open up more to you guys. We definitely will. It's a lot harder and more difficult than we realize to really get a lot of information out about ourselves and really what we ultimately stand for in one podcast. And that's just, I overall just don't really see that able to happen. So it'll definitely continually progress and get better as we go on and continue to record more podcasts. We want to open up with a verse of the day that really has spoken to us, not only today, but also in the past that we've been in church and just gone throughout our lives. And so that verse is Romans 3, verse 23. It is, "For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God." And I think that that's something that not only us three can attest to, but literally every single person on this planet that recognizes that there is a God and that His desire is for us to be connected to Him, and that we are entirely and completely unperfect and undeserving of it, and literally everything that positive comes to us and everything that we are given is from Him, and we really just don't deserve it, and we as it says, we fall short of everything He has to offer to us, and I feel like the more we grow in our faith is the more that you start to realize that, because things happen to you that are just amazingly good, and all these positive things happen in your life, and then you go to church and you realize like how terrible of a sinner you are, and you just think like, how is there this being, how is there this thing that loves me so much more than I could ever imagine. Like, it loves me more than my mom loves me, and everybody knows how much their mother loves them. It's just an all encompassing thought, and it's really crazy to think about. Do you guys have any thoughts?
Yeah. It's a very beautiful verse. It gives humanity as a whole hope, and it shines a spotlight on Jesus, because it shows it doesn't matter how good you think you are or how good other people are, how they think they are, because when you come right down to it, we're all evil. We've all sinned. I sin just about every day. We all fall short of the glory of God, And that just shows, that proves right there that if we all fall short of this glory, then we need a Savior. We need a Jesus. And that's why it's so amazing that someone like Jesus, the Son of God, the perfect one, he would come down and he would die for us. It's a very humbling thing to think about, that, no one's perfect. We have no room to boast. Even the people who pretend like they know more Scripture than other people, when you come down to it, we're all sinners. But yeah, that's what I have. That's what I have to view on it. Will, did you want to say anything?
I mean, I think the verse really speaks to the fact that that even like the people who were seen as very high religious figures back in their time, the priests and the Sanhedrin, back the people that condemned Jesus to death, it really just speaks to me to see that they were corrupted and broken. And the difference between us and them is that we can see that, and that we accept that brokenness, and we accept that that Jesus is the reason that we are able to live a life full of hope because of, even in light of that brokenness. So it really just speaks to me a lot. This verse does. I think it's a verse that most Christians need to hear. Definitely most new Christians need to hear, because a lot of times hypocrisy is something that can push people away from the church, and it's happened to me in my life. I know people that they choose not to come to church because they think it's full of hypocrites, and they think that the people that attend don't practice what they preach. And the sad truth, but the perfect truth, is that none of us can follow our faith to 100%. That's why Jesus was so amazing. So I really think that if any of you listeners are struggling with anything, just know that us, your pastors, your parents, all of us fall short. None of us are perfect. None of us, should even pretend to be perfect, because we all make mistakes. And I guess at this point, I'm just praying that this podcast isn't one of those mistakes. So I think next we're gonna talk about a couple ways that the Lord has moved in our life in the past week. Dakota, if you can start us off with that.
Yeah, and real quickly before we jump right into that next little segment we have, I think it's important to just talk about why we're doing this and what we ultimately hope to get out of doing this podcast. Because for the week or two that we've talked about doing this, we've slowly just been trying to get more and more thoughts together and just get a plan rolling. And we realized right before we started this that, while we can have a small outline, we really don't need this massive plan. It's really what this is about, is going in and having this talk about our lives, what's going on in our lives, the world, and just overall exploring the way that faith moves within us, and how we see God in different ways, and ultimately struggles we have, and overall just trying to better ourselves. And I think that having dialogue like this, especially for us at least, it's a good way for us to vocalize our thoughts and feelings and get to know each other even better than we already do. We've been friends for years, but just having this kind of talk really helps reshift things and put things into your perspective that you never would have thought of. And it brings about new ideas and feelings. And I really think that there's only going to be good that comes out of this. So I just want you guys to know that our reason for starting a podcast is that, and also to overall do a good job of educating people that are our age, so young adults, even teenagers, that's young adults, even people younger than that, but mostly young adults and people going through a stage in their life where you're either coming up through high school or you're about to graduate or you just graduated and you're freaking out because you don't know what's next for you in your life. And that's really just something that every single one of us here can relate with, because we all have our own struggles and we all have our worries and we all have our doubts and we all have these times in our lives that are really just filled with uncertainty. But I think it's important to look back at the story of God. I don't remember what book, because I am nowhere near perfect. I'm terrible at Bible verses, but the story of God, or Jesus Christ, when he was in the rough seas on the boat with his disciples, and they start worrying. The seas get really rough, and Jesus is asleep, and it's like, Jesus, what are we gonna do? Like, we're freaking out here pretty much. And then Jesus is like, are you serious? Like, did you forget who I was? And I feel like that's something that everybody in this world can relate with, because it's like these times that we're going through in our lives are so uncertain, and especially today with everything that's going on, there's just so much stuff that's happening that we don't know how to control, or we don't know how to plan ahead of and get in front of and really just be in the know. And really the fact of the matter is that we don't need to, and we just need to look to heaven, pray to God, and just know that he's going to take care of it no matter what happens. Whatever happens is part of his plan, and as long as we can pray about that and realize that, I think it's really important. And really just an overall, I think a good mission statement to have about this podcast is just relating to all listeners. And even if you can't relate, like, you have everything going on great, like, that's awesome, all the power to you. But there's definitely going to be a time in your life where everything's not great and everything is, like I said, it feels like hope is lost and you don't know what to do. And really we're just here to remind you that having faith in God is going to get you through that. And overall, there's no better feeling than being able to put all your trust in the Lord, and it'll literally get you through anything. Do you guys have anything to say about that?
I mean,
mission statement, or
I think you got it. So I mean, it's just speaking on how the Lord has worked in my life this week. Like I said, just starting this podcast is a big one. Finally getting it off the ground. We've been talking about it for a while. Just doing something faith-based that we can really reach out to more than just our immediate friends and our church family. So, I mean, it's really going to be awesome to see what impact this can have on people, even if it's just a couple people. We'd love for you guys to give us input. We'd love for you guys to help us out. But like I said, just starting this podcast is a big example of the Lord working in my life this week. I mean, finally going back to work, actually going back to work from this pandemic, the Lord has really been a rock during this for me. And I hope that it's brought other people closer together and closer to Jesus than farther away. I really don't see how people could get through this without having faith in a God that loves them and would watch over them and keep them safe. So, I mean, we'll be praying for those families that weren't as fortunate as us, that weren't as blessed as us, to not have anybody, affected by this virus. But I think just the fact that I think all of our family members were kept pretty safe during this time. It's a pretty big blessing for us. So Billy, how's the Lord been?
Oh, and that's not to say that this whole thing is over, because we acknowledge that this thing is still ongoing.
Yeah.
So it's just we are so thankful that through this time and currently as of now, our family has been safe. Everybody's healthy, and it's overall, as you said, it's been a blessing that everything's gone so smoothly during this time. And I think that's another thing that we can acknowledge, is that whenever things are going smoothly, it's definitely harder to see God in your lives. Our college pastor and youth pastor from high school, has definitely told us this time and time again. It's when you're at your roughest moment, it's when you're at your lowest of lows, that crying out to God on your knees is just such a moment of connection with God that it's unlike any other. And it's a shame that it really takes us a time where we have nothing else except God to really feel Him. But when you look at it from that perspective, it does make sense, because He's literally the only thing you're holding on to. And we want to motivate you guys that even when everything is going well, that you can still look to Him, and still ask for His help, and just thank Him for His many blessings that He always gives you. Billy?
Yeah, I definitely agree with crying out to the Lord in these difficult times right now. When you call out to the Lord in true desperation for hurting people, it's a true feeling. It's real. It's a real feeling. Being able to surrender during something so severe. But this week, some blessings that the Lord has really, or some things that the Lord has really shown me this week is, I currently live at home with my parents, and this week my brother moved back into the house with me, and at the house he has two little puppies, and this might seem like something small, but for the past couple days I've been having to partially take care of those puppies, and something that's just truly amazing that the Lord is showing me is innocence, some pure things in life. He's really started to show me some pureness. I'm able to take care of these puppies every day, and just when I look at them in the face and I can see how innocent they are, it's truly a gift that the Lord gives us. And while all this evil is going on in this world, it's nice to see that the Lord is blessing us in some purity. So that's really something that I've been thinking about this week. And I'm going through Leviticus, and we're talking about in Leviticus, it's talking about burnt offerings and sin offerings and guilt offerings, and I'm seeing all these offerings, and it's really showing me something amazing, that God forgives. He's really has patience, and He's having patience with me as I'm trying to live my life, and I consistently fall, and I fail all the time, and just reading those verses, it just shows me that, yeah, the Lord has patience. He has patience with my life, and He has patience with people around me, and He will forgive me, just as He will forgive the Israelites for everything they did. And so that's really the big thing that I've been thinking about this week. It's the forgiveness and the purity. Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, I think another thing that's important to mention about all these offerings that happen is how we were talking about the other day.
Malachi.
Giving up your best.
Yeah.
Giving up your best is what God really wants from you. It's whenever you give up your best and really show God that He's worth it, that He's really going to work through your life, and He's really going to be able to do everything spiritually and physically and emotionally, and just
and the great thing about
overall
that,
mentally for you.
The great thing about that is, if you can give God your best, you can give Him everything. You can give Him anything.
Exactly.
Which is amazing.
One thing I'll mention that I'm surprised no one mentioned about how God has worked through me in this week is just, I guess it's really worked through all of us, which is why I was surprised no one's mentioned it, is at our church, we all attend the college group ministry that is at our church, and recently, over the past couple of weeks, we've been trying to get together more often and just develop this overall better connection with each other. And yesterday was our first time meeting up, as all the guys in the college group met up yesterday for the first time, and earlier in the week all the girls met up for the first time outside of just our regular college service. And that was just so mind-blowing to see all the faces that showed up, because a lot of the people that went don't typically always go to church on Sunday, or they're not always there on Thursday, and it was just so heartwarming to see everybody there and really just have an amazing Bible study with two great adult leaders at our church who are really just very in tune with their faith. Like, they know they're not perfect, we know they're not perfect, and them acknowledging that and talking about some of the struggles that they've had in their lives and some of the challenges and adversity that they faced and that they've conquered with the Lord is just so amazing to see. And the fact that we're going to be doing this kind of thing weekly from now on is just, it's so amazing to see. And it really, as I've said with other things previously, it puts stuff into such a different perspective than you would ever think you could have when God works through all these different areas and he opens up all these opportunities for you. It really shows you the true, full encompassing power of our Lord. And it's really just shocking to see sometimes. It really just refocuses you and puts you in awe. And it's great to see. Do you guys have anything else to add on this segment, or do you?
No, man. I mean, I think we can move on. I think the next thing we wanted to talk about was a grace moment in our life. It could just be in any moment in our life, but I mean, it could be this week, could be any time in your life, like I said. But for me, I think one thing that I take for granted a lot, and I can really see the grace in it now that like I've moved out of my house and I'm not really like the rebellious child anymore, I feel like. But just having a family, growing up with a family that loves me and that wants to see me succeed in everything I do. And of course, we didn't see eye to eye all the time, but I mean, just knowing that if they were angry with me or if they were disappointed in me, it was only because they loved me. I just think, and like the definition of grace is, it's love God gives us without us being deserving of it. And I have done nothing in my life to deserve a family that loves me as much as I do. So for those of you guys out there that do have loving families, don't take those for granted, because there are those out there that don't have those families and that have to be raised by either a single parent or by their grandparents. So I mean, just be thankful. Be thankful for whatever you've got, whether it be your family or anything, whether it be your siblings, whatever you're thankful for. Just know that it's God's grace, working through your life. So, Billy, you have any a grace moment that you want to talk about?
Yeah. Some things. There's a lot of things in my life that I really just don't deserve. And one really broad one that I'm just going to mention is just life in general. I really just don't deserve life. There's been so many times in my life where I should have died. One story about me is, I've had a lot of addictions in my life. A lot
Same.
of bad addictions.
Man, I think we can all agree with that one.
Well,
for sure.
Yeah. Well, one of them that was big was a Benadryl addiction, actually. I started getting hooked on Benadryl, and I don't know why. Maybe some kind of feeling, I guess. But I started off doing
hard stuff.
Yeah. Well, I started off doing 2 pills a night. And after tolerance started getting to me, I would start to take 4 a night, and then I would move up the chain, and eventually one day I took 12. I took 12 in one day, and I remember I was just laying on my couch and my whole body locked up, and I couldn't open my eyes, I couldn't open my mouth, and it was hard to breathe. And in those moments, I was there for about 30 minutes. In that moment, I really thought I was going to die, and it really scared me. I started thinking about my life and where I was, and I just knew I didn't want to have that to be the last part of my life. To think about, I'm stuck in this little paralyzing moment where this is the end, and it's because I overdosed. And so after I came to, I really started realizing, wow, I do not deserve life. I'm too stuck in, doing the things that I want to do, and just here for the feelings, where I come to the point where I almost kill myself because I wanted, I want this feeling. So after that I realized, wow, I'm not deserving of life, but Lord gives me it anyway. I should have died, but I'm still alive.
Amen. We're thankful for you, buddy.
I'd say my grace moment. It's not from this week. It's from my past. For a while now. You guys are gonna understand what I'm saying when I say this, but it's how you were saying, Will, like the people that God puts into my lives, and I want to highlight two. They happen to be my co-host, and I really just thank God for them a lot, Lord, like I'm talking God. I really thank God for them a lot, and they really move through my life, and the way that God has connected all of us and put us together through the trials that we've gone through in our lives and all the stupid experiences we've had with each other. It's amazing to see God still move within us, and it feels like when we're together and we're working for the Lord, there's nothing that we can't do. I know that me and Billy personally have done some of these things called prayer walks with our church before, and just going through the mall in our city and just talking to the different people at the different little shops and the stores within the mall, and learning more about their life and asking them how we can pray for them. It really opens you up, and it shows you some of the different things and struggles that people have, and it really just shifts your mindset. I really liked whenever we talked to this one lady, and I believe she was talking about how all of her other coworkers, I think she was like the manager or the boss there, but all her other little coworkers, none of them believed in the Lord, and she was the only one there that believed in God. And she wore this cross necklace, and you could just tell how thankful she was that we had gone up to her that day and we had this conversation and prayed for her and everything that was going through her life. And it was just such a great thing to experience. And there was many other people that we talked to that day and the other days that we have done the prayer walks, and it's definitely something I want to get back into. But yeah, my grace moment is definitely these two guys sitting here next to me. They've done so much more for me than they probably could imagine, and God has really just worked through us in amazing ways. All of us have crazy stories about just God working through our lives, and it's a very interesting ragtag group we have going on here.
Yes, sir.
Moving on to our next segment, we want to highlight a time or a story or this moment in the Old Testament of the Bible. So we're bringing it back. Bringing it back just a little bit,
Throwback story.
That was one of the lamest things I've ever said.
That's not even close to being true.
Definitely not.
I'm just trying to seem cooler than I am. So the Old Testament moment, we're each going to have one individually like we have for these segments. I'd say...
I think it's important to point out before we start that, the whole reason for doing this segment is that... the whole reason of doing this segment is that we need to show that, like, the Bible is not just... It's not just the New Testament. Like, there's a reason that these stories are included. And I know a lot of people seem to think that, like, God was a vengeful, jerk in the Old Testament. But I think a lot of us need to see that, like, he's always been a loving God that has treated us with respect and dignity. So, he definitely was a little more harsh back then before Jesus came around. But, so who do you need? Which one of y'all wants to...
I can go first.
You want to go first?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So, one thing in the Old Testament that I've read many times, and it's really blown me away, is the story of Jacob and Esau. You see, when Isaac was old and he was laying in his bed, he gave his birthright to Jacob on accident. He was going to give his birthright to Esau, but But Jacob's mother told him to go and take it himself. Go up to Isaac and pretend like he was Esau and take his birthright. And so after he took this birthright, Esau got mad and said he was going to kill him. And so he was going to kill Jacob. And so Jacob, he got scared and he fled. And when he fled, he over a while, he started to accumulate a family. And over time, it started to be a big family. And eventually, he was going to go back home. And going back home, he was terrified. He was in absolute fear because he was thinking that Esau was going to kill him. Esau was angry and he was going to kill him and slaughter his whole family, or claim his family, which is probably worse. But all of a sudden, when Jacob was standing in a field, he saw Esau. He saw Esau from a distance, and when he came up to him, Esau ran up to him and hugged him and cried, and saying how he loved him, and, that he missed him. And it's such a beautiful story, because at the beginning you see hatred and you see some evil done, but in the end you see love. And the reason why I like this so much is there's a lot of preaching in the New Testament about love, and a lot of people question the love in the Old Testament. But if you look right here in the Old Testament in Genesis, you see a picture of love. You see where there was some tension between two people, some hate between people, and then it turned into love. You see forgiveness, like how Jesus died on the cross for us, how that's in the New Testament. Well, there's forgiveness in the Old Testament as well. That just goes to show that there is Jesus in the Old Testament. And that's such a beautiful picture to see. Forgiveness, forgiving a brother for a wrongdoing, forgiving someone for doing wrong to you. What greater thing other than love is that? Well, that actually exemplifies love. You can't forgive someone if you don't love them, and that's what I like about it. That's what I like about that scripture in Old Testament.
Yeah, and mine is a little bit farther along in the Old Testament, not quite in Genesis like Jacob is, but a story that has always spoken to me. Honestly, I didn't even know it was a story until I watched the Bible TV show, and I saw it happen, and I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. And so then you go and read it in the Bible. So in Daniel 3, it tells a story about three men named Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They're friends of Daniel that didn't quite find the favor of the king like Daniel did. But at the point in the story that I'm talking about, the king Nebuchadnezzar he's told all of his people. He's built a giant golden statue, and he's told all of his people that I am the highest God. Like you shall bow to me. Everyone shall bow to me. And everybody, including Daniel, bows to him. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to the king, and this is Daniel 3:16. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to the king, King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. And so basically the rest of that story is, King Nebuchadnezzar kind of calls their bluff, and he's like, okay, and he throws them into the fire. A fire so hot that he couldn't even get close to it without it burning. And I'm pretty sure it killed the soldiers next to it, is what it says in the later verses. But my favorite part of that verse is, or of that story is, whenever they're in the furnace, they're not burning. They don't burn, and they say that there was one like a son of God in there with those three men, and he saved them. And the Lord had heard their calls of prayer and heard their faith that they had, and came down and saved them from the fire. And that's such a powerful image to me, to just see that, like, these men, they had such faith in God, they knew that He would save them. But even their failsafe of faith, I guess you could call it, was that even if He didn't save them, that them dying for their Lord was anything greater than life worshiping other idols. So, and idols can be anything in our lives. They don't necessarily have to be a giant golden statue. So, I mean, just realize that we should be of the mindset that we should rather give our lives than to give, attention to anything more than the Lord. So that's why that story speaks to me so much. So what you got, Dak?
Mine is a very basic one. Everybody has heard of it, unless you have lived under a rock or been in a coma for the past 2,000 years or however long. Mine is the story from the tale of Exodus and how they crossed the Red Sea. That's just something that ever since I was a child, it's really just stuck out to me. You look at how God used Moses to deliver the Israelites through the Red Sea and away from the Pharaoh's army. I think it's just insane to look back and think about being in that moment, and you're Moses and you see all these people that you've been leading and how afraid they are and how much they're just full of untrust, and their loyalty just seems to be completely gone as soon as the Pharaoh's army is right there. And then Moses is like, "Hey guys, God's still with us. He's definitely still speaking to me, and he's actually saying we can walk right through here." And he opens it up, and I'm like, "Oh, let's do that." And I think it's just I don't know. It's just one of those stories in the Bible that really demonstrates the power of God and the way that when most people don't expect a certain outcome or something to go right, like the Lord is going to deliver you through it. As long as you have trust and you have faith in Him, the Lord will be there for you, and He will save you and just deliver you out of situations where you're in need, or give you the help where you require it. But yeah, that's a very basic story, and I'm sure everybody's heard of it. If not, that's definitely something I recommend looking into. It's one of the most popular stories in the Bible, and it's something that I was reminded of when I was looking at different videos online. I was looking at videos and just looking up on the internet just stuff that proves the Bible is real. It's not one of those things that I was in a time of doubt and I needed that information to hold on to my faith, but it was more like I was so in love with the Lord, and I was like, let's just go see. Let's go see what people have found that is literally look, God is very much alive, and God has very much done the things that He said He's done. And so I found multiple articles online and videos, and one of the things I saw online, which me saying online is definitely not a good thing. You definitely shouldn't trust everything you see online. But I'm pretty sure I saw this from a trustworthy source, and me saying I'm pretty sure just further reinforces the fact that, don't trust me, but go look it up for yourself. And research it for yourself. But basically, they found these chariots plated in gold, and these skeletons of horses, literally in the Red Sea, just chilling at the bottom of the Red Sea, and it makes just chilling.
Yeah,
they're just sitting there. Said what's up when they got there.
Chilling.
And it makes you wonder, how did that happen? What went on? That a chariot could be in the sea. Maybe the Pharaoh and his army was chasing these Israelites.
All caps. How did that happen?
Just maybe they were chasing these Israelites across the Red Sea or something.
They were on boats. They were just floating.
Oh, you're right.
Jet skis.
Yeah, jet skis.
That'd be pretty awesome.
Dude, ancient jet skis. Hey, bro, aliens built the pyramids, so you never know.
Hey.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. You know those aliens.
We're all aliens of this world.
Oh, boom, dude.
Amen.
Dang.
Amen.
That's crazy.
Look at that.
Look at that. Full circle. Actually, it's more of like a semicircle, and it went off into like a triangle and like another.
And then it came back to be like a circle.
Yeah, are we back? What did the circle...
Did you talk all about what you wanted to... Okay.
What if it was a hexagon?
I honestly forgot.
Our faith is a hexagon.
Dude, that's crazy. Maybe it's like a cross.
Ooh, dude, this guy is on fire right now, bro.
Dude, I feel like I got roasted, but at the same time, it was like glory.
It's like
I don't think you got roasted. That's just...
it's like open your eyes.
It was just so intense, bro.
Maybe it's a cross. Is a cross a shape, or is it a thing?
Oh no, a cross is a shape.
Is it, or is it just
like
two?
this.
It's just two lines that go across.
You guys
each
can't
other.
see me, but I'm making a cross.
Technically,
with
anything can be a shape, other than like
light.
Billy,
Yeah.
Billy, this is when we get into a whole other segment of the weird things that Billy says. Like anything is a shape.
I mean, is it not?
Okay. Let me.
Not everything is a shape though.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say.
Well, that's why I said
All right,
gas. Gas is not a shape.
You know what is a gas?
What shape, dude?
That's
no.
where we should have plugged in the noise from
Dude,
earlier.
oh, Billy. Pre podcast nervous gas, man.
Right in my face, might I add. What a faithful Christian man
That's why I
farting in another man's face.
I was gonna ask you, what shape is your phone in? Is it in phone shape?
Yeah.
It's a rectangle,
The
bro.
shape, the phone shape.
No, it's a
It's in
rectangle.
phone shape.
I'm obviously joking.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, obviously joking. He's obviously joking, everybody.
Just as obvious that everything is a shape.
Including what's something that isn't a shape though? To be honest with you.
That isn't a shape. What
Air.
do you mean?
Yeah,
No,
air,
no,
we already
everything-
said air. We already said air.
No. Everything has a shape, but it's not a shape. That's what I'm saying.
What? I
Every,
don't see what you're saying.
bro, we're not trying to. Bro, we ain't no philosophers.
It sounds like it, bro. We
We're
might as
acting
well be.
like we know stuff.
Bro, we might as well be. As long as we write it down and it's what survives in history, then we could be the philosophers.
If it lasts more than 5 years, I'd say we're philosophers.
Yeah, I mean, we're basically like Jeff Bezos, you know what I mean?
Check my iCloud notes in about 5 years, everybody.
Oh,
Actually,
hopefully we're still going
yeah,
in 5 years. It'd be crazy. We're gonna look back on this one and be like,
we did
look
that.
what we were talking about 5 years ago.
Yeah, look how terrible this is and look how great it is now.
We can actually get more than one mic.
Well, no, everybody, we're using 3 mics, by the
Like a
way.
whole
We're not
party.
using 1 mic. We're using 3.
Yeah, the mics that are built into our lungs. Wait, that's not where our.
Those are called vocal cords.
That's not where our vocal cords are.
Yeah,
Dude, I took anatomy. I took anatomy.
Wait,
in high
where are our
school, I
vocal
don't-
cords then?
In your throat, I think.
That's what we just said. You said they're not in your throat.
I said they're in your lungs.
Oh.
Alright, so
Well, we
Now-
got
now
one
that
more
we got
topic. We
that-
got one more topic.
Dude, I knew this. It's okay. We're allowed to get off track.
yeah, once we get off our last subject, we just
Oh,
let's
we're
just
not
talk
off our
about-
last subject.
No, we still got one more.
How
Okay.
is I should preface this with we're now moving in to what is and what we're hoping to be our last segment of today. It probably won't be.
No, we'll probably just.
what is
How
Honestly, it's kind of sad. It took us to like the fourth topic to really be like
It's okay.
just vibing with each other. Like before this.
Off script is usually where the magic.
That's what I'm saying. But before we got to like the Old Testament
Well, we
thing,
were also like trying to answer these topics that we set out for ourselves. And
right?
Addressing that.
I don't like that as
isn't-
much as.
I don't know. I think it's important to address topics, but we definitely don't need to have as many topics.
I feel like when I came out of the bathroom is really when everything kind of changed.
Alright, so
They didn't
what-
know that. I wouldn't.
Yeah,
have
what's the
bathroom.
last?
The
What's,
smell
what's the
changed.
last subject?
It's how is God going to use a negative situation in your life to turn it into a positive? So basically, we all have those situations in our life where.
I have one fresh on my mind.
Yeah, wait a second though. Let me kind of tell them what we're
I
doing.
wasn't gonna.
I'm sorry.
I was just
I'm just saying, but like basically what we're doing
making
now
it casual.
is it's casual. It's casual, business casual.
Oh, suit and tie.
Please don't. Oh, so
You don't want round
basically,
two.
he almost farted on me again, everybody. But
No.
basically what we're about to talk about is a negative that we're using right now. We all have negatives that we thought were bad in the time, but then it turned out that God used them to be fruitful. So that's what we're gonna talk about. Something in our life right now that we think is a negative, but we could pretty clearly see God using as a positive in our life. So What you got, Dakota? You got one on your mind?
Okay, well, it's not something that I know God is going to use it as a positive, but it's not something I see positive results out of right now.
Yeah.
I know that it will happen. This one really hits close. I told Will about it and some other guys that I went shooting with. This past weekend, we went skeet shooting, and I was telling them this story because the news got broke to me as I was there. Basically, I'll start it like this. I have a brother who is what is he, like 5 years older than me, guys? Yeah, you don't know. Anyways,
brother.
He's like he's 5.
Your brother. How old is he, guys?
All right, gotta get serious. He's 5, almost 6 years older than me, and he played football at the school we went to. And since I was so much younger, I wasn't playing football when he was. Plus, I didn't play football anyways, so I wouldn't have been on the field with him. And my brother had a really good friend who he's been best friends with, or it's been one of his best friends since like middle school. And he had a little brother who is 4 years younger than me. And so every time we would go to football games, and our brothers were there playing with each other, which was every year up until my brother's last year in high school because of concussions and stuff like that. That's off topic. But
Dude, he just about killed his computer, boys.
Basically, every time my brother would have a football game, I'd go there, I'd bring a football, or someone would have football, and me, my brother's best friend's little brother, who I became friends with, we would just go out there and play football and have a good time. It was really fun. I would always look forward to being able to go there and have people to play football with. And even though he was like a lot younger than me, he was so wild, and he was really fun to play with. He was really funny, and it was always just a good time being able to hang out with him there. And like I said, I always look forward to it. And basically, last week.
Are you gonna cry if I show him a picture? Is that him?
Last week. Sorry, Will's interrupting me.
Yeah, just as usual.
Last week, or maybe it's been 2 weeks now. I think it was a week or so, week and a half. He was driving in his car with his girlfriend, and I'm not exactly sure of all the details, but I'm pretty sure there was a head-on collision, and he was, along with his girlfriend, I'm pretty sure they were both ejected from the vehicle. And as soon as that news got broke to me, it really just put me in such a dark place, thinking about him, thinking about his family, thinking about everything they're going through. Just to have this tragic accident, and he was put into, I'm pretty sure he was either in a coma or they put him in a coma, like a medically induced coma. And so he was in the hospital for a couple days, and this past weekend I got a phone call from my brother, and before I say what he told me, it really hit me close whenever my brother was telling me about it, because he's like, dude, like, he just straight up told me, he's like, I can't even imagine how I'd be feeling, because he knows that his one of his best friends right now is just going through such a terrible time. And my brother literally just like looked at me and told me, he's like, dude, like, I can't imagine how I'd feel if that happened to you. And like, that's really just what took it out of me. And so he calls me and he tells me they're taking him off life support because he was brain dead. And I really can't imagine what his parents are going through right now. And I can't even come close to what his brother is thinking right now. I know how I'd feel if that happened to my brother, and I would just be devastated. I can't say for sure whether or not he had the Lord in his life, and that it really kills me that's what seems like a missed connection to me. We definitely lost contact after our brothers stopped playing football with each other, and I haven't really talked to him or communicated really with him since. And just knowing that that's a guy that I've known from my childhood is just, it really impacts me pretty deeply. And I know that even though it's such a negative time, and this is very depressing to talk about, I know that something good is going to come out of this, because God doesn't just do things in vain. I know that even though his family is hurting right now, that there's going to be a time where they recognize the full impact of the way that God is empowering the situation, and I mean, I shouldn't, but like, even though I know this, and I know that God is gonna make so much greater things out of this, like, it still breaks my heart, and I broke down, yeah, I'm really just praying for his family. I'm praying for his girlfriend. I don't know much about her. I know that she was put into a medically induced coma because her injuries were so bad and they had to do surgeries and such. But I believe she's gonna make it. But yeah, that is the very depressing, negative moment that I know God is gonna make into a positive. And I've said this so many times. It changes your whole perspective. I feel like this whole week and this past month of my life has been so perspective shifting, as to me being able to see all these different things and the way that God is going to work in each and every one of our lives. Use a big vocab word for you, Will, because I know you don't know many words. Leaves me flabbergasted. Sorry I had to roast you, but
I actually know what that means, so I'm pretty sure I'm the vocab guy, but that's okay. You don't have to accept that. Yeah, man, we're definitely here for you, and I mean, I'm sure these people listening, they can identify with you on some level. My thing that I thought was a low point, and it's kind of, jump started this change in my life that I'm really starting to see, was just one of my friends. Well, he's all of our friends, and we're all actually in this situation together with it. But one of our friends came to us, just doubting the Lord and doubting how He was working, and just asking us all these questions of, and I mean, and there's nothing wrong with asking questions, but they were just questions we couldn't answer because of how much sin was just engulfing our life, and we couldn't we couldn't answer them because we knew that well, I guess what I'm trying to say is we were intoxicated, so we couldn't. It was kind of like a wall of sin, I guess you could call it, was in the way of us, and also in the way of him being able to fully explain it. But I think that situation is a big reason why we feel like we need to start this podcast. We need something. We need to be able to tell people about that that moment in our lives where it was so evident that sin was blocking our ability to spread the word of God. And I just think that now that we understand that, especially with this person, our friend that I'm speaking about, especially with him, we can now understand what needs to be said to him, and how it needs to be said, and in what environment it needs to be said. And also we can see that that lifestyle is not one that any Christian should live, but definitely not some that are trying to grow in the Lord. So I mean, it could be a lot worse, but I mean, somebody doubting their faith is not anything to joke about or anything to undermine. So, do you have anything, Billy?
Yeah, there's something that I'd really like to talk about. Something that I actually was looking up a lot, and how there was some bad stuff that happened, but the Lord's really made it good. So I wrote a biography on a guy named Jim Elliot. Some people probably know who he is. He was a famous missionary back in the 1950s, and he was on a team. It was a team of 5 people, and the whole operation that they were on was called Operation Alka. And so these 5 people, Jim Elliot including in the 5 people, they were going down to Alka, or it was a place in Ecuador, and they were trying to reach this village that has never seen Jesus. In fact, it has never seen anybody outside of their village. They were completely, primal. They were a tribe that was extremely primal, and they weren't really familiar with outside peoples. And so this group, this group of 5 people who were going to go evangelize to this to this tribe, they were kind of trying to warm up to these people. They were sending them gifts through like airdrops from an airplane. One person in the group was a pilot, and so they were dropping off some resources to them, and shouting out references in their native language. Trying to get used to them, trying to give them get them warmed up to them. And so eventually they think that they're warming up enough, so they go land over near the tribe, and after they land, they sit there and they wait for the tribal people to come over to them. And at first it's going great, they start getting along with the peoples, but then eventually the tribe gets suspicious of them, and the tribe kills every single one of them, and they take their bodies back to their tribe, and supposedly they could have eaten one of them. But Jim Elliot, he had a wife, and he had a 1-year-old daughter. Him and his group of missionaries, they went across to some foreign territory, and then they got murdered. For the cause of Christ, they got murdered. And you see this, and it sounds awful. You hear this guy just orphaned his child, and he widowed his wife. And it's just a sad story to think about. But then after, you see something phenomenal. You see, years later, you see many missionaries coming back to this tribe, trying to reach this tribe. And in the end, you see many people in this tribe give their lives to Jesus. At first, you see something horrible. You see these missionaries getting massacred and leaving their families and never seeing their families ever again. But then you see beauty. You see these people giving their lives to Jesus because some missionaries saw this as an opportunity, and they shared gospel to this tribe, and those people gave their lives to Jesus. What a beautiful story.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's wonderful, and many people today are still inspired by Jim Elliot and his team, and honestly, it's inspiring for me. That and if you just go and look up Jim Elliot and just look at his life as a whole, he was a very godly man, and he's just truly an inspiration. But yeah, that's my moment where you see something bad go good. I guess that's kind of a bad way of saying it.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean.
Yeah, that's what I got.
I know, I got you, bro. And I mean, we're happy to hear from you. Anything else you guys want to say? I mean, we've been going for a minute. Not actually a minute. Kind of like an hour.
A couple more minutes than a minute.
Something I kind of wanted to do is I want to pray for some missionaries. I've really been thinking about this a lot. Not only do I have to pray to God a lot more often, but I really need to learn to pray for other people and other servants of Christ. And so I want to take some time to just name a country in the world where there are missionaries, not anybody specific, but just some missionaries.
Get a globe.
And I just want to pray about them.
Spin it. And
Yeah, that'd be great, actually.
Put your finger down on it.
Yeah. So I guess, and since we don't have a real strategy or a globe, I'm just going to go ahead and name a country.
Do South Korea. You went to South Korea. Just do them.
Yeah.
Okay, so first we can pray for South Korea and the missionaries there. I know some people who are in there right now. I'm not gonna name any people for safety precautions.
I got your random country.
But
for next time.
It's Panama.
It's the British Virgin Islands.
Okay, so for this time we're just gonna pray for South Korea and the missionaries there.
And definitely another time on one of these podcasts, I'd say talk about your missionary experience.
Yeah, I would love to.
Talk about your experience.
Oh, by the way, y'all don't know this. I'm a missions major at the BCF, the Baptist College of Florida. And I've been to South Korea and I've been to Cuba. And I have a lot of great stories that I just love to share with y'all. But for now, we're just gonna pray for South Korea.
Hey man, you got it.
Okay. You wanna pray for them as you pray us out?
Yeah, go for it, bro.
Yeah, I can do that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pray.
In this one prayer.
Father, I thank you for your grace and your mercy, Lord. We are truly undeserving of life, Lord, and we deserve death, but yet you give us life, and it's just a wonderful thing. Yeah, you're just wonderful. I'm in awe about how amazing you are, Lord. I thank you for this podcast today. I pray that whoever ends up hearing this podcast, that they will be blessed beyond measure, Lord, that you will just open their hearts, Lord, melt their hearts so that they can see your glory. Lord, I pray for everyone who thinks that they just got it all together, Lord, that they think that they know it all, Lord, that they are sinless. Like the verse we read today, for all have sinned, and all have fallen short of the glory of God. Lord, I pray for the missionaries in South Korea. Lord, that's the country that's right beside North Korea, which is, it's such a bad place right now for Christians, Lord. But for specifically South Korea, I pray that you just be with those missionaries. There's a lot of unbelievers in South Korea. Lord, be with them. Give them endurance. Give them patience. Lord, and give them a willing servant heart, Lord, that they will serve you forever. And I pray for the communities right now that are just struggling, and I just thank you for everything you're doing in our lives. And I pray all this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Awesome, man.
All right.
I really appreciate everybody that is either listening to this podcast, and I just hope you guys enjoyed it. This is our first one. This is really, as we said at the beginning, something that we've been planning for a little bit now, and I think overall, God is, how I said earlier, God is going to work through us with this, and He's going to work through every single one of you. I hope that this podcast can give you some good views on life, and some of the struggles that we have daily as Christians, and that we're all going to fall short of the glory of God, but it's important that we keep our eyes fixated on Him, and we just don't give up hope. We know that God's always going to be here with us, and I think that's going to wrap it up for us. I'm going to say that no one else has anything else to say because you're not saying anything.
Yeah, man. No, we're good.
And really appreciate you guys.
Thank you guys
tuning in, listening to us, and there will definitely be more because in this hour or so that we've been talking, I think it says an hour and 8 minutes. In these 68 minutes that we've been talking, I've had nothing but a good time, and I really think it was all very constructive, very useful, and stuff that's gonna really stick with us and help us improve in our faith. And that's really all we're trying to do day to day. I have these plans on my Bible app that I either start a new one after I finish, or I'm continuing day to day, and it's just this is one more thing that I can add on to really help the Lord
fully into my life and fully give up everything over to him. And appreciate you guys watching. We will catch you guys in episode 2. Peace out, y'all.
See y'all.
Bye.